So, Vechain has risen roughly 15-20% since the Coinbase listing. It hasn't really gone like a lot of the other listings. Usually they basically do like a pre-listing run and then dump after the listing or peak after the first day. But Vechain has not quite peaked. Now, part of that is because the announcement late this week that Europe has actually stopped raising interest rates, and that boosted the whole market up, which boosted Vechain up. But Vechain got more boosted than the rest of the market. And like I said, the main advantage of getting listed on Coinbase is the liquidity it'll bring to the ecosystem, not necessarily a price pump straight up. But it does seem that extra liquidity has really helped Vechain pump up more than the rest of the market. Vitho also pumped up, but obviously it's going down now because it got hyper pumped up. And Vitho is not really the investable asset anyways. It's always been Vechain. The foundation has mentioned that multiple times. And realistically, they will do things to keep the cost of Vitho down if it actually gets to that, as they've shown before. But how high can Vechain actually go? I think Vitho is pretty much already peaked and it's pretty much on its way down. But how high can Vechain actually go on this pump? I actually believe, on everything I've seen, there's going to be a ceiling at around 2 cents right now, based on the current market conditions, and if Bitcoin does not pump any higher. So assuming that the rest of the month stays kind of stable, and that is because some people are still afraid of what the Fed actually might say in terms of interest rates at the end of the month. I do think Vechain stays around, maybe gets to 1.92 cents, and it really won't go above that. There's always a chance it could retrace back to 1.6, but I actually think this pump is somewhat sustainable because it didn't fly up really, really high right before the listing or the day of the listing. It slowly crept up, and I do think that is because of the increased liquidity that is getting some American buyers in. Remember, Binance.us was kind of small, and now they're a crypto-only exchange. And they've kind of been that way for a while, so Vechain didn't really have a USD on-ramp. Well, now that Vechain does actually have a USD on-ramp, there's going to be a flux of buyers coming in, and that's what I think you're actually seeing. So I do think this pump is a little bit more sustainable than most other Coinbase pumps. Now, like I said, I don't think it's going that high. I think the ceiling is going to be at 2 cents, unfortunately, unless Bitcoin pumps. If Bitcoin goes to 30,000, we could be looking at 2.5, possibly 3 cents, because I do think Vechain is going to be bullish against Bitcoin, definitely whenever Bitcoin pumps. And I don't really think Bitcoin's going to retrace that much more right now. Because Bitcoin right now, it's riding high on the end of these rate hikes, both in the US and Europe, whereas most of its investment money is actually going to come from. Now, I'm not saying that obviously 3 cents is the peak of the next bull run. I'm still looking at 75 cents to $1 there. But 3 cents right now, towards the end of September, is what I'm really hoping for. It's only about 1.8 right now, and 3 would almost be a doubling the price. So getting to 3 cents would be a big win for VET. I know some of you are hoping for Moon a lot sooner, but realistically, we're not going to 5 or 10 cents probably this month, unless Bitcoin has some kind of super pump, or unless they accept an ETF and Bitcoin goes super high. That's kind of unlikely right now. So Vechain is going to follow the rest of the market. I think it's on a bullish trajectory, and it'll probably gain sats against Bitcoin because of the new added liquidity, at least for the next 2 or 3 weeks. But overall, it's not going to super hyper pump like some people want it to. I know Vitho experienced an 80% pump, but VET is not going to get that. Vitho, I don't actually think had any listings on any major exchanges besides Coinbase, which is the first one that listed them. Vechain outside the United States, it's listed on Binance, it's listed on a lot of other non-US exchanges, so it's not going to have that dramatic of an effect. And of course, Vechain is a much higher market cap coin, so it's not going to have the same effect as Vitho. And you're seeing Vitho is crashing pretty hard right now, and Vechain probably won't crash nearly as hard if it even does have a retrace. But the added liquidity is really, really helping the coin right now. And I think 3 cents by the end of the month is probably kind of the best we can hope for. By the end of next month, I think once September is over, once the Fed does not hike interest rates, if we continue to go up towards 40,000 by the end of next month, I do actually think Vechain can get to maybe 5, 6 cents. And that's the best we can probably hope for. By the end of the year, the best we can probably hope for is around 10 cents. Now, there could be a retrace at the end of the year as the market retraces a little bit from pumping late in the fall or during the start of the winter. And it really probably won't start rising again until maybe like next year as we get closer to the halving. Like pre-halving, I'm hoping we can be at around 10 cents around April, because I think we'll be at the $40,000-$50,000 price around there for Bitcoin. And I think with the new added liquidity, Vechain is going to gain sats on Bitcoin going forward, because it's lacked that liquidity in USD for a long time. And we know that USD is where a lot of the money comes from. So all that money is actually open to VET right now. Also, like that's going to help the Vechain ecosystem. Hopefully it pumps up some of these dexes. If we can get a little bit more TVL on VET because of the Coinbase listing and the money coming in, then we can go much higher than, otherwise. So realistically, like I would say right now, you're going to have Vechain at maybe like 2 cents, hopefully like by next week. Optimistically, 3 cents by the end of September. Optimistically, maybe 4 or 5 cents by the end of October, and hopefully about 10 cents towards the end of the year. Maybe it'll, like if it gets to like 10 cents like mid-November, it might retrace to 7 or 8 by the end of the year, and then maybe we'll go into the bull run maybe around 10, 12 cents. And then if we go to the end of the bull run 10, 12 cents at that rate, I think we can get to like 40, 50 cents fairly easily. And I do think that's kind of like when people really need to start looking at selling out. I know my goal is $1, but there's no guarantee it's going to get to $1, and $1 is pretty high. Looking at Vechain supply, you're going to have about $60 billion market cap. That's a fairly high market cap for Vechain, and there's no guarantee you're actually going to reach that. So the thing is, like 40, 50 cents, that's going to be significantly higher than last time's all-time high. So no matter what time you bought in last cycle, you're going to be in profit at that point by quite a lot for most of you. So you should be looking to sell at that, lock in some profit, and then just play with the rest of the bag as you see fit. Once you get your initial investment back plus some profit, you can wait for however long you want. I still wouldn't wait too much. If it actually surges to $1, I would definitely sell a lot of it at that point, because that's a lot of profit right there. And I know there's some crazy ass rumors with Vechain $75. That's just not going to happen. There's just no real partnership, no real utility that would actually bring it up that high. And I think even with any kind of partnerships and utility, even with the DeFi, if the DeFi really increases, I think getting over $1 or staying over $1 for any length of time is going to be hard, even during a bull run, because you're going to have all those people holding all that money, and a lot of them are going to want to cash out. And there's not going to be enough people that want to buy the bag that they're actually holding. Now, I don't really know if VEX is going to come back up. That's a big question for some of you guys. I have some money in VEX. I don't really think it's coming back. So that part of my Vechain, I just kind of write off as lost. It's still kind of there, but with the USD coming in, maybe some people will actually pump it up again, and you'll be able to withdraw some or trade some back. So that's kind of the hope for VEX. It's kind of doubtful at this point, so hopefully you didn't put all your money on VEX, because that was also always a really, really dangerous proposition for Vechain, especially on a DEX that doesn't have much liquidity, didn't have a USD on-ramp, and that was a small ecosystem in the first place. It's not like one of the major networks where you have adequate amounts of liquidity, and I think the team kind of abandoned the project right now. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but for VET itself, the prospects actually look very, very good right now, even if it is at 1.8 cents. And I don't think we should have really that much trouble going past its all-time high in the next bull run. It's people were saying this kind of stuff, saying it will never reach its all-time high at this point in the last cycle as well. And then it went from half a cent to 20 something cents very, very quickly. Now, we thought it was going to keep going up, but unfortunately the alt market died as inflation rose. So I actually do think this particular bull run, the next one, won't be quite as sudden, because we won't have the stimulus money this time, but it'll be more long and arching. So I do think it will last. The bullish market will definitely last longer, but it won't be a sudden hit like last time. So you might see slower rises, but ultimately it could actually rise a lot higher, as we won't have something bringing us back down, but we also won't have the initial spike of money to actually pull it back up. So that's kind of how I believe this bull run will be different from the next one. It might be a more even bull run that's slower, so don't actually lose your patience. I do believe Bitcoin and Vechain are both obviously going to hit their all-time highs and go significantly above it. And I think a lot of these altcoins that just haven't died in the next in the bear market, that have actually lasted through, that have actually had development since the last bull market, will actually do quite well. Remember, Vechain did actually release POA 2.0 during the last 4 years, and I do think that's going to play a bit into it too. I just really hope it can bump up its DeFi system, get Vex back up, get some of the other DEXs back up, because they've been really suffering on these smaller chains. And realistically, it's really hard for these DEXs to actually survive through 4 years of bear market. And I really hope they'll get those rewards back up, because that's going to get people interested back in the chain as well. So overall, like a small recap of what I said, I'm going to guess like 2 cents hopefully by the end of next week, maybe like 3 by the end of September if we're really lucky. 4 or 5 by maybe mid-November, and then hopefully 10 cents by the time we actually get to the halving next year. So those are kind of my predictions for Vechain. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.